Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on this mesh distress jumper. So I've had a lot of comments on this jumper asking for a pattern, so I'm going to give you all you need to know. In this video, I'll be going through the stitches that I used to make this jumper, as well as how to alter it for your specific size. Just a note here, this is a guide, not a tutorial, because this is a freehand jumper, so I can't give you an exact pattern. This does mean that you can use any sized yarn that you would like. I would just recommend using a hook size that is 1mm larger than what you would normally use. With this jumper, there's quite a lot of leeway when it comes to how it fits, just because there's a lot of stretch both ways in this material. So this means that we need to try it on quite frequently just to make sure it looks the way that we want it to. Obviously, if you're making this for yourself, this is quite easy, but if you're making this for someone else, what I personally would do is get a clothing item in that size that I want to make and then stretch the panel out over that to mirror the shape of the jumper. So this will ensure that when you put it on, it will fit in the exact same manner. So once you've picked your yarn and you've picked your hook size, we're ready to start constructing this jumper.
To start off this jumper, we're going to make the sleeves, and we want to start by chaining the circumference of the top of our sleeve. So this is actually going to be the bottom, but this is going to act as the size guide as we work up. So I just wrap this chain length around the top of my shoulders to make sure it fit before slip stitching into that first stitch, and we're going to start building up the length of these sleeves. To start off each row, we're going to chain 4 or 5 before we move on to the stitches. So I'm going to show you a few of the variations of stitches that I use. All of this work, however, is freehand, so you can either adopt what I'm doing or change it slightly for yourself. So you can see here I've started a triple crochet, but before I complete it, I'm just going to go ahead and add a double crochet into the next stitch. Or actually no, I think I skipped a stitch here, it's kind of hard to tell. And as you can see, I'm not really bothered about tension in this project. I'm also not worried about my stitches going into the exact same point into the chain row. I will just find anywhere secure, or even somewhere that's a bit less secure, to put my stitch. After working round a few inches of your project, you want to have a look at the row you're working on and check that it tracks up with your chain row. So as you can see here, I need to crochet a few more stitches before I kind of catch myself up with the chain row. So as you can see, I chained 2 and did a double crochet into the triple crochet that I did, and that's caught me up, so I'm not adding or taking away any of the circumference of that chain row. Also, you want to make sure that the height of your stitches remains in the same kind of range, so I consider the height of a double or triple crochet and try and emulate that height. But as we're using a bigger hook than we normally would, this will allow some flexibility when it comes to the panels, so you actually don't need to worry about this too much, as it will kind of fix itself. You just don't want to make any drastic changes. Also, I did want to show you, to create more texture and interest to the project, I like to do what I would kind of refer as a bad Tunisian crochet. So I just get a bunch of loops on my hook and pull through in random kind of increments. So sometimes I'll just chain and sometimes I'll pull through multiple loops. Mixing these in with normal mesh stitches will create a lot more texture and make your project look a lot more interesting. You could also use this or the use of quite tight double crochets to make parts of your panel more opaque. So if you want parts of your jumper less sheer, that could be an option. Once you've worked your way back round to the start, we're going to slip stitch into any stitch that you would like. So as I say, I'm trying to keep the same height of this row. And you can see here, I'm checking that the chain and my row that I've just done is around the same length before I just chain a few. So I chained 3 here, turned my work, and now we're going to repeat the exact same thing. So we want to do those random stitches, and you want to enter these stitches into places you normally wouldn't, whether that's a front or back loop only, or whether that's around a whole stitch. You also want to add clusters as well as meshy space areas to add more texture. We also want to make sure we're keeping the circumference of our sleeve around the same, so I visually check halfway through, and at the end of my row I'll slip stitch into just any point that I can to maintain the height of my row. Then I'm going to pull on all of my rows at the same time and make sure they're all around the same tightness. If we're happy with this, we can slip stitch in and carry on building up a sleeve. If we're not happy, we'll have to frog that part of the row and add or take away some stitches. You just want to carry on building rows till you're happy with the length of your sleeve. Once you're happy with the length, you want to cut your yarn after your slip stitch and pull that yarn through.
I've just finished my first sleeve and I've tried it on and it all fits well, so that means that I'm ready to mirror the exact same thing on the other side. So the only thing is you want to make sure that the circumference of your sleeve stays the same, but apart from that you can just freehand this however you want.
Once you've done your second sleeve, instead of cutting the yarn and pulling it through, we're going to chain this length here. And remember, this is going to involve the collar of the jumper, so you want to be a little bit generous with this measurement. Once you've done that, you want to attach this chain row to your other sleeve. So here I kind of did a weird single crochet thing. I'm then going to chain one, skip one stitch and single crochet into the next stitch. What I'm doing here is just working up a few stitches to mirror the height of the row that I'm about to create. So as I said earlier, it's kind of the height of a double or triple crochet, so each time I work around my sleeve I'm going to work a few stitches just to mirror this length. From here we're just going to do the exact same random stitches that we've been doing whilst creating the sleeves. And as I said earlier, you just want to make sure you're adding texture and make sure that you're not adding too much length. So as you can see here, I did a little pull to make sure that I wasn't adding too much length or taking away too much. From here, I'm going to skip a few stitches from where the row came from. Then I'm going to work up a few stitches in the sleeve before I then turn my work and carry on with my second row of distress stitches. So for this panel we want to work just under halfway around the circumference of our sleeve. Now we've done this panel, we can either finish off our project and reattach our yarn at the top where our first initial chain row was, but what I'm going to do is just do some random distress stitches to work up to this point. So we're back at the start where we attach the two sleeves together. We now want to decide where we want our neck to be. So I'm creating a double crochet at that point and I'm going to chain this exact length. So I've just kind of roughly gauged where I want the neck to be, but you could use stitch markers if you'd like. And once we reach that point, we're going to do a double crochet into that stitch where I marked earlier and continue this row. So you also want to make sure that your head will fit through this, and once you've done that and you're happy with that, you're going to build up a second panel to make a shrug. You also want to try this on before you build up your body. If there's any size things that you need to change, you can either increase or decrease your hook size, or you can increase and decrease the amount of stitches that you use per row. Now I'm just going to stick with the same circumference as this, as I say, is quite a stretchy material, so I know with the size that I'm making it will be able to stretch to be quite form-fitting. From here it's just the case of routinely trying it on till I was happy with the length, and this is how it turned out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Freehand stuff is definitely quite difficult to explain, so if you have any specific questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll also link my social media in the description. Please like, comment and subscribe. If you do make this, please tag me. I'll see you guys later. Bye.